So I've been making my own Moringa capsules for a while now, and people kind of ask me like,
Why do you do that and how do you do that?
so what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd make a little video that kind of goes through why I do it and how I do it. And I thought I'd go over a couple of different facts, first of all here, and I wrote them down so I didn't miss anything of why I would want to make the Moringa capsules myself rather than just buy capsules. And I also want to go through, quite frankly, why you wouldn't want to make them. So hopefully I'll give you a balanced view of what you're getting yourself into if you decide to go for capsules and what the benefit is. As I go through this, you'll find that I have a favorite supplier of Moringa. So with this supplier, I can get 120 capsules in a bottle for $19.95 plus shipping, which I think is around $7. The capsule size is a size 0, and they tell you to take 4 capsules a day. So you get a 30-day supply for roughly 70 cents a day. Not bad for the benefits of Moringa. Now, what I do is I actually buy the powder from them, and I have a subscription, so it's cheaper than the price that I'm telling you here. But if you went out today and you bought this powder, it would be 8 ounces of powder would be $18.95 or $19. Okay. I also, instead of size 0 capsules, I use size 00 capsules, which is bigger, about 40% bigger. And those capsules themselves, that supply cost me $15.89 or $16 roughly. So that 8 ounces of powder gets me about 400 size 00 capsules. The powder amount doesn't quite give me 500. If I was going to guess and I was going to round it to be around the 120 math frame for 480. So I would get about 4 bottles of the capsules for that 8 ounces of powder. The size 0 capsule will give you roughly 400 milligrams per capsule, and the size 0 capsule gives you 570 milligrams, or roughly 40 to 41% more per capsule. So a 30-day supply, once you have the supplies, the material for making the capsules, is going to cost you less than 28 cents a day, or about $8 a month. And that's for 40% more. So it's more like 20 cents a day as compared to 70 cents a day. So I want to actually qualify a little bit here as I was thinking about it. So my powder is $18.95 plus shipping. We're going to go and say $20. The capsules are $15.89 divided in half because I'm only doing it to 500. I'm not even making 500 capsules. We're going to say $8. So 400 capsules plus some left over, it's going to be $28. You could take 3 times more for that $28, and mind you, that's not exactly right. It's less than that because that's 500 capsules. So you can take 3 times more for $8 more. Not only 3 times more, because if you think about it, I said these are 00 capsules, so you're going to get 40% more per. You're going to need to do the math, but it's a lot cheaper. Let's just leave it at that. So therefore, you can see my reasons for making capsules. I'm not the only one in my family taking them, so it could get expensive in a hurry if I was getting just the bottles for everybody. So those are kind of the reasons that I do the capsules. I have a family that takes them. I can do it for less than a quarter of the cost, but I want to go over why not to make capsules. So first of all, it's time consuming. I'm used to doing it, and to make 400 capsules, I would set aside 2 hours, and that's set up and clean up. It's messy. Moringa powder is very fine, and if you have any kind of a draft, it can get everywhere. So you want to be in a draft-free area. You want to have a non-porous surface. So you have to have a good working area. The upfront cost for the capsule maker is going to cost you about $30. So you're making plus your supplies, you're making at least a $30 commitment. But that's a one-time commitment. You have to have a place that you can store the capsules and your supplies. And if you're getting more powder, you have to have some place that you can actually store it that is not damp. You have to clean up after yourself. Maybe that's just me, but that's a downside to me. And you have to deal with the comments and the looks from your family, and for anyone else who finds out you're making your own drugs. So those are the reasons that I can think of that you would not want to do this. So if you're still interested, let's continue on with the video and I will tell you what you need and show you how I do it. Okay, so to go over some supplies, and first of all, of course, is going to be your capsule maker. You can get these on eBay, Amazon, just search on the internet and you'll find them. They're pretty basic, of different pieces here, and we'll go over this as we go along of the things that each of these is used for. And the next thing you're going to need, of course, is your Moringa powder. Now this is an 8-ounce package. This is from A Healthy Leaf. I really prefer this one because I trust the owner. He's got a lot of really helpful videos out there. If you go out to his site, I have tried other ones. Don't tell Mark. And I always end up back at A Healthy Leaf because the product is always consistent. It's always a nice green color. It always smells like moringa. I've grown moringa trees and it tastes honestly the same as the moringa leaves. So I know that I'm getting a good product. The next thing that you're going to need, of course, are capsules. This is what I use now. I used to use a different brand. I use these and I've settled on these mainly because the body of them is consistent. They're kind of stiff enough that they go into the machine really easy and it saves me a lot of time. So I stick with these. I haven't seen any that there's really enough of a price difference that I would really go to anybody else. So these have worked out really well for me. And then you're going to need, of course, and I've already cheated here and gotten some taken apart, you're going to need some containers that you're going to be able to put the capsule top and the bottom in so you can separate these out. So you're going to need something that you can put your capsules in as you take them apart ahead of time. The other thing that you're going to want to have handy is some simple tape. Hopefully I won't have to use this, but hopefully I remember to tell you why you might need this. The other thing is you're going to need some containers to store roughly 400 pills in, because I would suggest doing a lot at a time because your setup and your cleanup are going to take you time. So you're going to want to do quite a few at one sitting. The other thing that I use is these are silica gel packets, and I usually put 1 or 2 of these, depending on the size of the bottle, in with the moringa to make sure that I take care of any moisture that might be around. And that is pretty much what you're going to need. Like I said earlier, is you're going to want to have a non-porous surface because the moringa powder is going to get on your surface and it's going to take a little bit of work cleaning up afterwards. So you're going to want a non-porous surface or a disposable surface if you want to put down paper or something. You're going to want a good lighting. Preferably overhead lighting, and really the reason that you're going to end up doing that is when we're filling this machine here, you're going to want to be able to look down and actually see light in each of the holes so that you know that you've gotten capsules in each of these holes here. Okay, so now we're ready to make our moringa capsules in the machine. So I have separated here the bottom and the top, and we're going to start out, of course, with the bottom here. So the first piece you're going to need is you're going to need this piece on here. For me, I pick this up and I kind of cover this area here so they don't go out. And then we're going to just shake these in here. And shake this around. And what I do is I pour out the excess. And of course, this is where the overhead lighting comes in handy here, is I now can look in and I can easily see which holes are not filled. Now, if I had a lot that were empty, I would probably do that exact procedure again. But here I just have maybe 20 or so that are empty. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to drop the other ones in here. I used to use ones that were not nearly as stiff, and what ended up happening is I would end up getting so many that would go in upside down, and then I had to go and try and get them out, that it ended up being faster for me to just do what you're seeing me do here by hand. Well, imagine dropping 400 capsules in like this by hand. It was very irritating. Another thing here is these are vegetarian, so if you read, they're much better for you than the alternative. Where I've found that I would use tape, and how the tape is, all of these went in the correct way, so I can't show you. Simply taking a piece of tape, if one went in upside down, simply taking a little piece of tape, having it on your hand, and just a little stickiness and touching it to it, you can lift it right out. If you're afraid of that little bit of adhesive getting on that capsule, these capsules are cheap enough that you can just throw that one out. So now we've reached that point where we've got all our capsules in here, and we set this aside now, and we have our capsules ready to go. So the next things that we're going to need is we're going to need this, which is a tamper, I believe they call it, and then we're going to use this for scraping. And what we're going to do is we're going to pour some powder on here. Now there were times where I would actually measure this out, and I don't do that anymore. I just pour it on here, and I work it around with this and get it in all the holes. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to work this around and get it evenly in all the holes. And this becomes more important as you get to the end, because what we're going to do is we're going to get this in all the holes, and then we're going to use this little tamper tool over here to push the powder down in here. Moringa, more than other things, if you end up filling other products into your capsules, because of how fine it is, you're going to have to go through this process normally like 5 or 6 times, filling all these, pressing it down, and then filling in the gaps there. Since you're not selling these, probably, you don't have to end up with the exact same amount every time, so it's kind of up to you how tight you pack this in there. That's about even. You can leave some on top, that part doesn't matter there. And then what you do is you just take this, and all those holes line up here, and you take this and you press it in. And the first time you press it in, I can almost guarantee it's going to go straight to the bottom, because it's just kind of pushing it all around the edges. Now I lift up carefully, and you'll see that some of it sticks here, and then I just take this and I over top of this, and I just go ahead and scrape it down in there. And then I set my tamper down, I put this piece down, and you just add some more powder here. So those are all about full. Now the more I have left on top here, the more chances I'm going to have that I'm going to have a bunch of it kind of caked in here, and I'm going to have to scrape it out. So you'll see here, I don't know whether you can see this or not, but there's now probably 1/8 of an inch gap in there that I can press it down to. So we're getting more material in there. All right, so we are just about done here. I've done this several times. I'm down to, when I press in pretty hard, I get about less than 1/8 of an inch space in there. And this is where you need to just start deciding how tight you want to pack it in there. Your benefits versus time and energy. So once you finish this up, you work through this. What you're going to do is, any excess, we'll just scrape off back into the container here. Let's take a look at this one more time, just to see whether, I typically like try and push it down a little bit there, and then just see whether I can just scrape in the last little bit that I have on here into the capsules, rather than putting it back in the container. Now my kids reminded me of one little supply that you're going to need too, and that is good shades, so that people aren't looking into your house going, what are they doing in there? And what we're going to do is we're just going to take this off there. We're going to put this in here, back in here, and set that there. Now we're ready to do the tops. For the tops, we're going to have this other container here that will again hold 100 caps. And we're going to put that same top on there, and now we're going to take our container of the caps, and we're going to do the same kind of process in here. We're going to sprinkle this in here, work them around, and then I just take the excess, tap this, and brush any of these off here. Now these lids, I always have ones that I have to turn over. Sometimes they get stuck in here, so make sure they're not stuck in there before you set this aside, or you can have lids falling on the floor on you. And then it's kind of the same process. With here, I take all the ones that are upside down, and I flip them over, and then I just need to fill in a few here by hand. Okay, now that I have all of these in here, the next piece that I'm going to need is this piece here. And for mine, it's got a little indentation here on this side, and I put that side face up. And that goes right on top of these things. And then we're gonna need this piece here. The next thing that we do is we just take this and we can flip it over here. We line it up and we make sure it's lined up good. And then we wanna press down gently with even pressure. The other good thing about these is I've had less lost capsules. Sometimes you'll have ones where they won't go on right and you'll hear kind of a crunching sound and you'll know it. You'll know that you're gonna have a bad capsule. But again, it's so much cheaper. If you just lose one, you're still way ahead. And then what I do is I take these and on each side, I go 5 in on each side and I just kind of squeeze top and bottom and that kind of secures the lid just a little bit more. Probably don't have to do this, but I do it because I don't really want to worry about capsules falling apart in my bottle. And then the other thing that you're going to need here that I didn't mention is you're going to need kind of a bigger bowl that you're going to dump these into when you're done. Put these in here and just kind of show you. It's just a matter then of putting your hand towards the bottom, moving them out. And just like that, you've just made 100 Moringa capsules. Now, like I said, because of your setup and tear down time and cleanup time, you're probably going to want to do enough to use up as much of this bag as possible. Now, the other thing too is, and maybe I'll make another short video on this, is there are other things that you can do with this. Honestly, I make my own tea in some tea bags with this. All right, so hopefully this was helpful. That's kind of all there is to it. So hopefully this will help you to decide whether or not to go and make your own capsules or whether to just stick with buying the capsules in the easy way.